So, because it's late at night and I'm bored and I have nothing better to do, I thought it would be fun for me to go into like a more in-depth explanation on my silly little rogue deck that this energy just didn't want to be in the video apparently, of my deck. Because, a lot of people are saying, oh, it's not that good, why are you running this? I'm sorry that I'm not running Dragapult or Raging Bolt or Gardevoir. I'm saying that I'm trying to have fun while playing my game. The game that's made to have fun, not, win money, even though that's kind of what I'm trying to do. At the same time, like, I'm trying to have fun. I'm sorry. So, I think I'm going to go into a deep dive, because why not? I think it could be fun. Then, I can make the hard meta players mad that, I'm trying to have fun while playing a game. So first and foremost, because it's the easiest thing to show off, I have a grand total of 12 energies in the deck. This is kind of like the lifeblood of my deck, because the more energies I have out, the more damage I get to do with Hydrapple. And plus, pretty much anything needs energies to attack. It's not normal for a deck to not have energies. That's like how you're supposed to do anything in the way of TCG, in the way of doing damage or searching for things. It's just kind of the lifeblood of the TCG. You don't have energies, you don't really play the game. Next up, we've got my Pokemon. So for the main line, it's I have 3 Applins, 2 Dipplin, and then 1, 2, 3 Hydrapple. These are the main Pokemon in the deck. This is pretty much what this deck revolves around, because Hydrapple and Dipplin are my main attackers. Hydrapple has an ability that lets me attach a energy from my hand to one of my Pokemon, and when I do, I heal 30 damage from them. And in doing so, I also power it up a little bit more, because then I get to do with Syrup Storm the 30 additional damage. So that gets powered up, and Dipplin lets me do 20 damage for each Pokemon that's on my bench. I will get into its ability later of when Festival Grounds is in play, it can attack twice. During a Pokemon turn, usually at the end of your turn, you attack. That's how you do damage. That's how you take prize cards. That's how you win the game most of the time, unless you're playing something like a stall deck that you just want to stall your opponent out and deck them out. Then we're coming up to supporters. I have 2 baby Teal Mask Ogerpons, which kind of doubles as a supporter and an attacker, because this is kind of what I want out first. It lets me search my deck for 2 basic energies, so my grass energies, and then to put them into my hand. Or I can use Ogre Comeback to do 120 damage to my opponent's active, depending on how many Pokemon they have on the bench. And then for my main supporter of the deck, I run 4 copies of Ogerpon EX, which lets me, once during my turn, I can use the ability Teal Dance to attach a grass energy from my hand to it, outside of attaching for turn, and then I get to draw a card off the top of my deck. And I can also use this as like a last-ditch attacker, because it does 30 damage plus 30 more for each energy attached to both active Pokemon. And then for my 2 main one-off supporter Pokemon, I run 1 copy of Iron Leaves and 1 copy of Pheasantipity. Pheasantipity is a really good supporting Pokemon right now, because whenever a Pokemon gets knocked out during my opponent's last turn, I get to draw 3 cards. So it's kind of like a comeback strategy, which is pretty helpful in most case scenarios. Next up, we have item cards. My main thing that I use is the bug catching set, which lets me look at the top 7 cards of my deck, and I can take out any combination of grass-type Pokemon and grass energies that I find there, up to 2. So I can take out either a grass Pokemon and a grass energy, or 2 grass energies or 2 grass Pokemon. It doesn't matter as long as there's only 2 of them and they have to be grass. It's pretty much my main way of searching my deck for things. And then for my Pokemon search, I have 3 copies of Nest Ball, which lets me search my deck for a basic Pokemon and put it onto my bench. So I can lay down the baby Ogerpons, the Ogerpon EXs, my Applins, my Iron Leaves, or my Pheasantipity, because all of those are basic Pokemon. And then I have, for energy search, I have 2 Earthen Vessels, which lets me discard a card from my hand, and then I get to search my deck for 2 basic energies. I reveal them, and then I put them into my hand, which in that case would be grass-type energies, because I only have grass energies. And then for more Pokemon search, I have Precious Trolley, which lets me search my deck for any number of basic Pokemon and put them onto my bench. This is an A-Spec card. As you can see by the A-Spec and the fact that it's pink, I can only run one of these per deck. This is a rule box card that are made to be strong to help balance out the game a little bit. Then I have, for my retrieval cards, I have 2 energy retrievals, which lets me put 2 energy cards from my discard pile back into my hand. And then I have Super Rod, which lets me put any combination of Pokemon and basic energy from my discard pile back into my deck and then shuffle them. And then for my last one, I have Night Stretcher, which lets me put a Pokemon or a basic energy from my discard pile back into my hand. So if a very important, like Ogerpon, got knocked out, but it didn't have any energies attached to it, I can just get that Ogerpon back and then put it back on my bench and start Teal Dancing again. For a gusting option, I have Counter Catcher, which lets me, if I'm down on prizes, choose one of my opponent's Pokemon and bring it up to the active, which is good for late game surprise attacks. And then I have 2 rare candies, which lets me choose one of my basic Pokemon, so Applin in this case, and instead of attaching Dipplin to it, I can skip it and go straight to Hydrapple, which is a pretty solid way to just get straight attacking without needing to worry about doing Dipplin first. Now, my deck doesn't run a lot of supporters because most of my stuff is item search, or I use items to search for things, but in a meta with things item locking like Badoo or the up-and-coming Jellicent EX, I need some supporters to search my deck for things. So I run 2 copies of Arven, which lets me search my deck for a item card and a tool card. My tools I will go into later, but you can only play 1 supporter per turn. So that would be my supporter for the turn, and then I get to use the item and attach the tool card that I got out of this if I decide to get either of those. I then run a single copy of Jacq, which lets me search my deck for 2 evolution Pokemon, so a Dipplin, either 2 Dipplins, 2 Hydrapples, or 1 Dipplin, 1 Hydrapple, and put them into my hand. Oh, hi, Conan. I also run a copy of Cyrano, which lets me search my deck for 3 EXs, so I can get out 2 Ogerpons, 3 Ogerpons, Pheasantipity, a Iron Leaves, really anything. Most of my Pokemon are EXs in this deck, and then I put them into my hand. I run a copy of Colress's Tenacity, which lets me search my deck for an energy and a Stadium card. Stadium cards I will get into later, and then I put them into my hand. I run 2 copies of Lana's Aid, which lets me put any Pokemon or any combination of up to 3 of Pokemon that don't have a rule box, so non-EXs, and basic energy cards back into my hand. This is another really good last-ditch effort card that lets me put like 3 energies back into my hand so I can try and get a last-ditch attack out with like Hydrapple or an Ogerpon. And then I run 2 copies of Boss's Orders, which lets me gust up one of my opponent's Pokemon. Now again, you can only use 1 supporter per turn, which can be a detriment at times, but it's game balancing. For my tools, I run a single copy of TM Evo, which I attach to one of my Pokemon that's in the active, and then I get to search my deck for an evolution, so say I have 2 Applins in the play, I get to search my deck for 2 Dipplins and then attach them, or lay them down on top of said Applins. A copy of Vitality Band, which makes my active Pokemon do 10 more damage, so Dipplin can be swinging for 220 instead of 200 if set up properly. And then 2 copies of Rescue Board, which makes my Pokemon have 1 less retreat cost, meaning most of my Pokemon now have a free retreat cost, so I can just pivot for free without losing any energies, meaning I don't lose any damage. And lastly, for my Stadium, I run 2 copies of Festival Grounds, which says each Pokemon that has energy attached recovers from all special conditions and can't be affected by them. So things like burn, confusion, poison are no longer affected by them. And this is where Dipplin's ability of Festival Lead comes in play, where if it is in play, where did I put it? give me 1 second. When it comes to play, it's allowed to attack twice. So that's another special little thing. And that is my deck. Hope you guys enjoyed.